This is Amy Bradford with Illinois Corn Connection, and today we're talking with Dr. Dave Bishop, who is a livestock reproductive physiologist. And I know that you've been involved in some research about how natural feed for livestock is better for the farmer, for the animal, and for the ecosystem. Can you talk a little bit about those areas and your experience with that?
Yeah, so we over time we've learned a lot about synthetics, and we think that we can put a synthetic anything in there. Human vitamins are a perfect example. You can pick up a vitamin off the shelf; it will do almost anything you think you need, but there's still nothing better than a balanced diet. Well, it works well with our livestock that way too. A farmer today has corn, soybeans, and pigs or cattle or cattle, and so anytime he goes off the farm to buy something, he stands a risk of bringing in diseases or biosecurity risk of anything. Contributing to the China market's not a good thing for most of us. And so it's pretty simple. If I can grow it and keep it natural, and by the way, my background from large integrators, so I know we can't do all of it. There are things that we need to do. There are some synthetic amino acids that we need, but anytime we can limit those outside things to only when we need them and do a better job of marketing what we have, we're doing well.
So when you talk about natural feed, what is that?
In America, it's corn soy. We have to get corn soy diets, and then I just got back from Russia, for example, where I had no corn and soybean, and I really learned to appreciate the 35 years I had around here of having something that was worth feeding. I make it a challenge all the time that as expensive as PRRS is around the world, in Russia, mycotoxins from poor quality grain management cost me more than PRRS did, and that was in 160,000 sows.
So recommendations for farmers and recommendations what you've seen in terms of the animal health itself.
Okay, there's some maternal, again, I'm a reproductive physiologist, so anytime I can improve fertility, I've done something well. Well, we have seasonal abortions in sows, for example, other than heat. So, if it's a change in grain source or getting to the end of a bin and then going to new crop, we have some cycles going like that. So you pick up those little things like that we shouldn't do, maybe blend our way into it. Palatability of diets, changes. So when I put wheat in the summertime, in February, to add a little refuge to sows, well, they back off feed, and so 1 day's feed in a finisher is worth about 4 days worth of gain. So there's a lot of things that we don't do with time, especially in the large integrators.
So the natural feed of corn and beans do they complement each other? Is one better than the other? And I guess what's the content of that nutrition?
So we use corn for energy, and we use soybeans for protein. That's as simple as it has ever been, and we can still do better corn, we can do better beans, but there's things like isoflavones in soybeans that we're just now finding up. It's kind of as important as realizing that folic acid was important to our human reproductive, 10 or 12 years ago. Well, isoflavones are known to improve fertility in mice, for example. Haven't got to the diagnosis with pigs, etc., but a lot of our species are very closely tied together. I studied GnRH, for example, and that works on everything from rattlesnakes to alligators to humans. So the system, our father, great father in the sky, as my grandmother would call him, built our world around cycles and understanding things. And there's no better understanding than what nature does. When I put a synthetic amino acid in, I get a synthetic amino acid and some fiber, vermiculite or whatever it is that adds to the volume. What that does to the rest of the body, we don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot involved in this system that farmers inherently know, I think. I've heard it talk about, the Native Americans that were here and they knew the purpose of all of this. What's missing with today's agriculture?
Well, the individual commodity groups tend to focus on their commodity and marketing their product. And, most of the farmers that I deal with are, as I said earlier, multi-species, multi-crop. We don't raise a whole lot of tomatoes other than our own personal garden and things like that. So we're not all the way across the board. We're associated with monocultures all the time. We're not there. We're in a 2 or 3 crop rotation. We're there to keep the soil in shape and to leave something when we're done. And so how we do those kind of things and how we market our own crops needs to be more of a whole farm scenario. Talking about So if I can use a higher protein soybean, and as I said, I use soybeans for protein, so that means I have more room to put something else in. Well, if I use higher protein soybeans, I can put more corn in. When I use corn, I get enough energy that I don't have to buy outside fat sources. And so again, I'm keeping it to my farm. I'm not using meat and bone meal from some meal rendering plant down the road that may have a disease in it.
Wow, there's just so much to understand about all of this, and I feel like it can change, hopefully fairly quickly, and farmers adopt that holistic approach to their livestock feed. Thank you, Dr. Bishop, for joining us today for the Illinois Corn Connection. I'm Amy Bradford.